all of our members and all the visitors that I see here tonight. Thank you ever so much. And as we always do, we want to say a big thank you to the City of Wilder for allowing us to use this facility. It's just an absolute wonderful thing. We're going to open tonight with just a little bit of a brief business meeting and go, clean up a few things for the Historical Society, and then we're going to turn it all over to the fine folks from Lewis and Grant here. So, Richard, you want to run through the minutes from last month?
Last month we met here in the Broward City building. About 51 people were in attendance. At 7:04, Steve welcomed everybody and called the business meeting to order. There were no minutes from the December holiday social. Glenn Elson gave a treasury report showing an ending balance of $9,315.55. I reported on donations from Dennis Heath and Holly Jones. I reported that History Day is on April 22nd at the Erlanger Library in Kenton County. Jan Lester reported that membership was approximately 80 to 100 members at the beginning of the new year as renewals start coming in. James stated that the next newsletter will be the May edition. Any articles for her should be there by the beginning of April, the first week. She reported on communications with some help to a few genealogical requests. And she had some communications from a group that wanted to film at Bobby Mackey's and asked us for some advice and help. Steve and Jan promoted the essay contest, which entries are due February 14th. Steve reported veteran files now have 14,432 names. Sharon Pickle-Willow is still working on a map collection, grinding away, but made a lot of progress if you've seen the maps we have. Mark Thomas reported that the Society had sold 24 Christmas trees this year and raised about $900 or so from that fundraiser. Steve reported the Society is looking into reprinting volumes 1 and 2 of Pieces of the Past. There's 2 copies that nobody can find, both versions. Paul Whaley gave an account of the Reefs Across America event that had taken place at Evergreen Cemetery in December. Steve reported NKU has started an app for a walking history tour in Newport. He acknowledged that the Society website was being updated with more information, more minutes, and just some other details added to it. He turned the meeting over to Lawrence Goodrich at 7:18 for a discussion on model trains and model railroading. At 8:03, Steve mentioned the future meetings here tonight and in March as the Benton Haven Museum. April will be at the Syndicate. I'm talking with Bourbon King. And that one will require some sign up ahead of time. And with no further business, the meeting adjourned at 8:10 p.m.
Very good. Thank you so much. Glenn, you want to run through? I saw you down there. Treasurer's report.
We opened the month with $9,315.55. Renewed 138 members for $1,680. 3 business members, 75, received $302 in general donations, $100 towards the essay contest, sold $61.95 for publications, renewed internet tech sponsor for $50, and received another corporate sponsor for $250. So the net income was $2,524.68. We paid $71.40 for postage for the newsletter, $597.11 for copier supplies, and maintenance contract, $211.84 for the copier lease. $896 to PayPal, paid the annual filing fee for $15, so our net expenses were $929.31. Our ending balance then was $10,910.92.
Thank you, Glenn. Richard, again.
Donations, the only donation from the previous month, Sheila Everson donated a hypodermic needle and a syringe from the 1940s or 1950. And then History Day, as I mentioned, April 22nd at the Erlanger Library. The committee met by Zoom, and they are contacting speakers, so it's in progress. Everything's still going forward. And there's another Zoom meeting later this month. Everything looking good for April 22nd at Erlanger.
Very good. Thank you. Jan, we'll run through membership and newsletter, correspondence.
At last count, our membership was 236 members in good standing. That includes life members and regular members. And I noticed a couple people just paid their dues tonight. We'd like to get to that 300 number real soon here, so if anybody's not a member and would like to join, it's only $12 a year. That gets you our newsletter 3 times a year. You get special notices of all our meetings.
Discounts.
Yeah, discounts on publications. So it's a good deal.
And there's applications on everything.
We have applications out there. Communications, we heard that we've lost a couple members. Bev Harper passed away a few months ago, and another member, Diana Schwab, who would come, lived out of state, and she came though to a lot of our meetings because she would come and bring her mom, who still lives here in the area. So Diana passed, and we're hoping her mom is okay. The newsletter will be, as Richard said, the May issue. I will need any articles or information that you want to get to me by the first week of April. And it will have some essay contest winners. We have a yearly essay contest for students. A couple of those winners will be published in the newsletter in May, along with lots of other good articles.
Very good. Thanks, Jan. As Jan said, the essay contest that we send out for middle school and high school students every year, Charlene told me today she is already starting to get essays in, so we're anticipating quite a few this year. We've got a couple of new schools that are participating, so that sounds really promising. But the time is getting short. Next Friday is the last day. Okay, so they've got to get essays done quickly. Veteran files, they added 195 names last month to the veteran files, which is just that. I mean, normally it's like 10 or 20 a month. They added 195 last month. And I thought, since this is Militaria, there might be some veterans here. If you're not in our collection of, what was that number last month? 14,000 something? 14,000 plus names in our collection. We want to have every veteran that we can. There are forms up here. Please feel free to take them, send them to us, and we'll get you in. I mean, we've got binder after binder after binder of veterans in our office. Charlene will be here shortly, but she also asked me to, outside of veterans, she is doing a paper for the Alexandria little newsletter that comes out. Is anyone aware of a Dr. Amalia Hickman that was in Alexandria from 1965 to 1972? Does that name ring a bell to anybody? Anybody from Utah? You do remember?
I think my mom went to Dr. Hickman. Yeah,
okay.
That does sound familiar.
Charlene will be here a little bit later. She had class tonight that I think got over at 7 or 7:30, and she'll be here. I'll put her in touch with you.
Okay.
She has some information, but she's looking for something in addition to that.
Okay.
So, great, thank you. I also want to put out a shout out to all of our volunteers. We have really added to our volunteer corps up there at the office, and these folks are doing just a phenomenal job. They're transcribing, they're filing, they're doing all sorts of things up there, and it's really making a difference. And just a big thank you to all of them.
You're welcome.
You're not the only one, Patty. Richard talked the Pieces of the Past. We're doing a reprint on that. The Fraser Museum down in Louisville, we're doing a project for them. They are doing one for every county in the state of Kentucky, and we are participating in that, and we chose to do ours on the Alexandria Fair. So I talked to, I don't know how many of you know Doug Carmack. I talked to Doug last week, and they were in Florida. They go down there to get out of the bad weather for a while. But they were due back this week, so I'm scheduled to call him. He said, I've got all sorts of Alexandria Fair stuff at the house, so I'll get with Doug and see what we can do. I want to invite everybody, stop by the Cold Spring branch of the library. Charlene's not here yet, but Sharon and Charlene put together an exhibit. Did you see it? I mean, it is just incredible what they did. They filled the whole case with all sorts of things about the Historical Society and Campbell County history, and it is just outstanding. So if you get a chance, swing by the Cold Spring Library and take a look and tell them how much you like it, okay? There's another fellow that we've been working with. He happens to be Glenn and Kathy's grandson, Brandon Robinson. He was doing an Eagle Scout project. He has gone through and photographed and GPS located every headstone at Oakland Cemetery and Johns Hill Cemetery. Okay? And we are getting, I have a DVD, or not a DVD, a flash drive of all of these on there, which is just absolutely fantastic for us to have. Everybody know the story of Pearl Bryan? There's a new book out about Pearl Bryan. Another new book, okay? I just bought it. I'm reading it right now, okay? I'm not all the way through it yet. This one's kind of interesting. You know, it was a time of yellow journalism, they called it. And I mean, what the newspaper people printed and what they were able to find out was far different than what they can do now. And so this individual went through and searched all the newspaper articles about the murder from that time period. And the book is based on all the things he read in the newspaper. I mean, it was just a wild time. One of the guys that was arrested, according to what this guy says, it was a newspaper reporter that arrested him. Not a police officer, it was a newspaper reporter. So, I mean, it was a crazy time. So anyway, I'm reading through it. We will have this copy at the office. Anybody want to come read it, you're welcome to come on down. Jan, you want to talk real quick on the Edward Moore?
Yeah, sure. I am also a member of the Mary Ingalls chapter of the Daughters of the American Revolution, and we are planning a grave marking ceremony for a Campbell Countyan who served in the Revolutionary War. His name was Edward Morin, and he's buried at Flag Springs Cemetery down in the southeastern part of Campbell County. The ceremony is going to be on April 15th, Saturday, April 15th. We're working with the church, the Flag Springs Baptist Church, and the Sons of the American Revolution, and our chapter of the DAR, put it all together. So there are several descendants of Edward Morin going to be there. Some are local, but several of them out of state. So there's some coming in from places beyond us. So we're pretty excited about it. There's going to be the marker. There will be a marker that we will place at his stone. Now his gravestone is broken in half. It's a big, flat, long stone, and it's broken right where, I can't read some of it about his wife's name, but anyway, the family, descendants, are even thinking about getting the stone repaired, which was beyond our scope of things. We just are planning to pay for the marker itself from the DAR. But if you're not doing anything, Saturday, April 15th, come to the ceremony.
All right, thank
And
you.
we have information on Edward at our organization too, as one of our revolutionary veterans.
How many of you are familiar with how auctions works? Something, well, I know you do. Above and beyond what we see on Pawn Stars and all that. Okay, that's what most of us know about. That's why I thought it would be a good idea to have some real auctioneers come tell us how that works. And then when Bill and I talked a little bit, we agreed that it might be a good idea to invite people to bring things in, which I see many of you have, and do kind of an antique roadshow type of thing. A lot of things we just don't know much about. We know that they have some value, they have a place in history, but we just don't know a whole lot about them. And we thought these guys might be able to shed some light on some of that stuff. So with that, I'm going to shut up. I'm going to turn it over to Bill Lewis of Lewis & Grant and let them do their thing. They're going to start with a little commercial about Lewis & Grant and auction in general, and then we'll start doing the show and tell thing.
Thanks for having me. I'm Bill Lewis at Lewis & Grant. This is our team. Our auctioneers right here, Andrew, and then we have Hal Wendling, Jack Lewis, Grant Wendling, and then we have Joe Moran, or Morn, the correct Irish pronunciation. But
You have Nick Rhodey in the back.
Nick's in here, Nick Rhodey. So, sorry, Nick, didn't see you come in. But it's not many places. I walked in and you feel right at home, and you hear about toy trains and model trains, and then a hypodermic needle, and I'm thinking, this is perfect. We've sold both. Like this is what we do. And so, because every little bit, every little piece of artifact, regardless of how small or how big, it tells a story. So, the idea of Lewis & Grant was built on community. Community to us is where we live, where we work, and then a fraternity, we call it a fraternity, but a fraternity of collectors who we serve. Like I said, it could be a small artifact like a nail from a railroad that was used in the westward expansion, to Sam Houston's sword, which we just sold. So obviously one has a lot more commercial value than the other, but it's no less irrelevant regardless of the value. And so, yes, we're auctioneers, but I think that's kind of secondary to what we do. The primary thing what we do is we're historians, and so we want to tell the story. We want to collect the items, we want to research the items, then we want to be able to present the items to the public so they actually know what they're bidding on. So that was kind of the idea. These artifacts, again, regardless of how small or how big, they shape our culture, and our culture shapes our society. So these things are actually extremely important in the long run compared to any commercial value. So we at Lewis & Grant, we focus on a few things: arms and armor, militaria, historical artifacts. And we have several different departments of how we handle each item, and we have an extensive network of contacts throughout the United States that we use, and actually through Europe. But as you can see who we are and what we do appraisals, we're artists, we're collectors, educators, gunsmith, hunters, naturalists, parents, researchers, reenactors, scholars, sporting clay. In any genre of collecting, we have a member that's involved with that. So it's not just something that we do, it's something that we live for and we have a passion of. See what we do? So what we do is we provide exceptional service to collectors, buyers, and sellers. The important thing is in the auction business, I have two sets of clients. I have the consigners that I need to take care of, and I also have the buyers that are actually buying the objects on the stories that we're telling. So it's kind of a difficult task managing both, but we enjoy it, and that's what we do. How we do it is we build relationships. So we're always involved. Community, it goes back to community. We want to be a part of the community, which is, glad that we're here this evening. But it's community-based. We build relationships with communities, with the collectors. We hope to earn their trust, and then we try to use our transparent business practices. There are items that are consigned to us that may not be what they were or what someone thought. So being transparent, being open, showing the research that we did to be able to authenticate an item is very important. It's always hard too. Sometimes going into a house, we can be someone's best friend or we can be their worst enemy when we have to break bad news to them, and you kind of get scared. Sometimes you feel like, oh, this might get physical. I got to get out of here. But it's important to be honest and be truthful. Next one. Types of consigners and partners. There's a familiar name up there. So we work with collectors, people that collect as a whole. We work with the states, so we work with the court system to sell military items, arms and armor for states. We've worked with government groups in the past. What I mean by that is we've worked with police departments that have surplus items that the police department will sell for body cameras, cruisers, new cruisers, Kevlar vests, anything that they need. So we will work with government groups, individuals, investment groups. Investment groups, a good example of that is, and it actually will tie in with museums and nonprofits, but with museums, as some of you may know, there may not always be the funding to buy a specific object that meets their mission. So with our knowledge of the market and we know who collects, we can reach out and perhaps find that buyer that'll step up and buy and then donate to the museum. So we've done that with some well-established institutions, nonprofits. We want to get involved with the community again and do what we do best. We want to share our passion. We hope that it rubs off. We hope that everybody sees what we do. It's not really a job. It's not a job for us. This is a life. We are on the road consistently, traveling to different trade shows, volunteering at different organizations, and hopefully we can continue to do it here with the Campbell County Historical Society. Let's see. Next one. Okay, I'm gonna turn this one over to Andrew. Andrew is our auctioneer, so he knows the ins and outs and the legalities around the auction process. So I'll let you take that over.
All right. Some of you may or may not know the actual profession of auctioneering hasn't always had the most wholesome reputation. We are pretty heavily regulated now at this point, both here in Kentucky and where I did my initial education, Ohio across the river. A lot of that reputation comes from the old slave auctions in the South where that was held up by auctioneers. You go into the Depression, into the 1920s, when someone's farm was seized by the bank and the auctioneer comes to sell everything off to pay the bank. So it's kind of they were kind of the black sheep of the world for a little bit, and that's why these regulations and the processes were developed to make sure that auctioneers are of the highest caliber of people that you can have. Auction companies are held to a certain amount of regulations and ethical standards, things we have to do. Our contracts have to be written a certain way. We have to pay people within a certain amount of time. And so that makes sure that it protects not only the auctioneer industry and the auctioneer profession from accusations of the less than savory people who maybe used to be auctioneers, but also protects clients to make sure that working through us as auctioneers as a third party, that we have their best interests at heart. And no matter what you do as a particular auctioneer, whether you work for an auction house or an auction company like I do, or whether you're a more traditional auctioneer who does home sales, real estate, someone decides to sell their house, or someone passes away and you go to their house and they have an auctioneer set up and sell their estate, there's a certain process that things have to go to. This is our current process, which is really more of people coming to us than us going to other people and saying, I want to sell this, I want to sell that, choose me to sell your estate, and that sort of thing, like some farm auctioneers may do, or cattle auctioneers, or sheep auctioneers. So our first point is always contact. You know, whether we may meet a contact here at this kind of show, or we go to the NRA convention, or we go to a sporting clay shoot, or we go to another sponsorship event. And some people will find us on the internet. We have a pretty active Facebook page. We try to share kind of neat stuff that we find, the history kind of the things that we see every day. So some people will contact us through that way. And then usually they'll send us their items for appraisal, whether that be photographs, they may bring it into the shop, or sometimes some very, very trusting people just mail them to us. So sometimes we'll have, oh, we've got this old rifle, or this old shotgun, or this old bow and arrow, and we'll think, well, you know, we can only tell so much through pictures, so we really kind of want to see it in person. And they'll say, okay, I'll just mail it to you. And so we'll open up this package, and there's a $10,000 shotgun in this package, you know, and somehow it arrived safely. But the items are appraised for value and reserves. You know, we do a lot of different types of appraisals. We don't only do auction appraisals. We do appraisals for auction, obviously, but we also do appraisals for insurance. You know, what is this worth for insurance? What is this worth for my estate? You know, I want to make sure that in my estate and in my will that any assets I had are valued appropriately, and when that time comes, it's easier for the executor and the people who are running the estate to make the appropriate decisions. For value and reserves. And what we mean by as a reserve is that we want, if a client or we ourselves believe that we want to protect that item. We want to make sure that this item gets what it's really worth. We can put a reserve on it, being that we're not going to accept a price any lower than that particular bid. And that doesn't happen very often, because items usually will find their value for what they're worth, but sometimes you aren't quite sure in a particular market if the market is going down on bows and arrows, or if the market is going down on this particular painting. We want to be able to protect those people's items. The pickup, when the client decides that they wish to consign with us, or they want to potentially use us for a service, we do offer kind of a full 360-degree in-house experience, so to speak. So we'll actually drive down and we'll pick it up. We've driven as far as, I remember Joe and I, we drove from Cincinnati, Ohio to San Francisco, California, to pick up a collection in a panel van with no cruise control. So you can imagine driving across Kansas with no cruise control and only the radio. No Bluetooth, no XM radio. We played Name That Song and Band for about 7 hours driving across Kansas on the one radio station that we could find. And that's one of the great things I think about our particular company, not to be too advertising about it, but when we go and pick up a collection, it's us. It's the same people you talk to get your items appraised. It's the same people who contacted you and answered the phone or answered your email. Because we think it's important to be able to meet the people that we're working with, because we both have a vested interest in what's going to happen with these objects. Entry and assignment, we bring things back to our warehouse, and this is one of my main jobs. Is to make sure that items are logged into the system. We have a system where we track all items from a particular consignor. Those items are given their own unique internal inventory number, and they're put in a special spot to make sure our photographers know where they are, where we know where they are when we catalog those items. Or if the consignor decides, well, maybe I don't want to sell this, you know, and sometimes that happens. You know, if you kind of get cold feet on something. Well, I think I wanted to sell Granddad's rifle, and you know, my grandson suddenly started asking me where Granddad's rifle is, so maybe I shouldn't sell it. So we know immediately what that is, because it's important to remember that if these items are on consignment, we don't own them; they are still other people's property. And so we try to make sure that things are as organized as possible to make sure that we respect other people's property just as much as we would want our property respected. Hold on one second.
And I guess to kind of chime in on that, when these items are in our possession, we do have them fully insured for you as well. So it's always taken care of. It's completely insured from the time that we pick up to the time that the item is sold. So even if you have cold feet and back out and something were to happen to the item, it's always insured for you.
If I fall asleep at the wheel driving across Nebraska and crash into the river, don't worry about your stuff, it's fine. You'll still get your money for it. At that point, we'll usually send out a contract. As I said before, we are regulated under the state of Kentucky. Kentucky Revised Statute Chapter 330 is many of our regulations. And that will say when you get paid, it'll include the terms of service. You know, how much is my item worth? When is it going to be sold? What's the commission rate? Do I have to pay any other fees? How is it going to be sold? It's going to be online. It's going to be in person. And those contracts are very important because it also helps us to keep track of when we're going to sell things. And we usually, as Bill was talking about, we have different departments, and we'll usually try to group items together that we think will sell best together, things that will complement each other. You don't necessarily want to put an Indian War Club in the same sale as a bunch of World War II rifles, because maybe they're not the same kind of people who are looking for those items. So that contract helps us to send that information to the consignor saying, here's what we think these things will go best in. And that's a way that we can show that consignor, again, that we as experts in our field and historians are really trying to find the best spot for these things to go into. Then the fun part comes, auction and payment. When you get your money for the stuff that's sold, it's my favorite part when I get my money for the things that I sell at auction. The auction is not quite so fun for me because I have to stand up and talk for 4 hours, which they actually do teach in auctioneer school. Auctioneer school in Ohio is a 2-week course, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. every day. And the first entire hour was nothing but learning how to chant. So it's a pretty strenuous activity.
Can you give us an example?
I suppose I could. I don't want to reveal it, but the way that it was is that, so you had to go up by ones and then tens and then 50s and 250s and 500s and thousands. So you'd have to stand there and go 100, 1 1/4, 1 1/2, 175, 2, 2 1/4, 2 1/2, 275, 3, 3. You know, so you have to stand there for an hour and go through each of those processes. So you really just kind of learn how to do it off the top of your head. But sometimes when the numbers get kind of messed up or the increments get messed up, I have to do the math in my head, and it doesn't always quite work out as much as I want it to. But the payment is made within 30 days. That's actually one of those things that's required by Kentucky law. So an example of how the state makes sure that the consignor is protected and the auctioneer is protected. If a consignor comes and says, well, you didn't pay me, well, yes, I did. I paid you within 30 days as per the law. Here's the receipt.
And each state is different. There's a whole set of legalities around auctions.
Yeah,
So for
every
example,
state.
Don't hold me to this, but I think Ohio might be paid within 45 days. So each state that we're selling in, it's actually better. It's more conducive to sell in the state of Kentucky than it is in Ohio because it's more friendlier to our consigners in the state of Kentucky.
So I'm just going to go through a couple of items that we've sold in the last couple of years that I thought were some of my favorites to deal with. I do a majority of the cataloging, so I really have the privilege to be able to spend the most time with some of these objects, you know, doing the research on them and getting them under the magnifying glass and seeing all the fun stuff, because my vision is still pretty good for now. One of our arms and armor divisions, arms and armor can be anything from swords to armor to guns, that kind of fall within more of an art sort of category, things that are engraved and gold inlaid, and this is a great example of that. This was a model 1886 Winchester. This was engraved by a gentleman named Ulrich, who I believe would work out of New York, and that's platinum, and that's not silver, that's actually platinum. And this was a fantastic piece.
Platinum and gold. And so one of the things that we try to do, like again, being a part of the community is, you know, is in the education side of it, some people may look at this item and see a firearm. They don't look at the big picture. People will collect this based on the engraver that did the scroll work and did the work on it. So much like collecting, you know, a canvas that was painted by Picasso or Monet, you have collectors in the world that will collect based on who was engraving and so forth. So it's important that we actually are able to authenticate that process because it can add a lot more value to the item.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but is this one going to the Met Museum, I believe?
No, this one's not.
This one's not? Maybe this one is.
Nope.
The Briggs patent? Not that one either. Okay, well I missed the mark on those two. So this is what's called a Briggs patent. You may know the famous Winchester name the way that the action was made. You load in a tubular magazine, and then the elevator would lift the cartridge out from the action based on the lever. The Briggs patent was actually an early attempt at figuring out the tubular magazine. And Winchester, I believe, preferred, was it Allen's? Not Allen's patent. King's patent. Preferred the King's patent over the Briggs patent. And so the Briggs patent is one of the more rare pieces because it was actually what you could consider a pre-Winchester Winchester. And this one, again, was really nicely engraved. It was a presentation model, and that came that way out of the factory. It wasn't done like that by an artist or by a gunsmith who had purchased it at a later date. It actually came out of the factory intending to look like this.
This is a very important piece of history because everybody knows the Winchester, rifles as you know it. Some could argue without this piece, you would not have Winchester. Winchester would not be where it is. So this is a pre-Winchester item.
As you can see, there's no loading gate on it. Usually, right, I think my shadow, right here, here's that loading gate that goes on the side where you put your cartridges in, and as you can see, this is missing. So it's kind of based on a Henry, which then became the Winchester Active. Military department, that includes your uniforms, your daggers, World War II stuff, World War I helmets, really anything that doesn't quite fit into what we would think as your kind of Middle Ages stuff, your swords, your high-grade rifles and shotguns. So this is what I consider to be kind of like the working stuff. Things that saw action and things that were made to be really used in the field. A good example of this is a pair of the silver-made spurs. Samuel Bell was a silversmith in Tennessee who later migrated to Texas. And these particular spurs came out of a collection in Texas with many of the items that belonged to Sam Houston, came out of the Sam Houston family. And these are believed to be the spurs that he wore at San Jacinto when the Mexican army was defeated and really set the stage for the founding of the Republic of Texas. And these were really excellently made. And if you notice this mesh here, that's actually silver. Those are individual silver spirals that have been woven together and then hammered. So that's not like a chicken wire sort of steel mesh. That is in fact hand wrought silver. And you can see that in the two close-ups here in the corner, along with this Samuel Bell signature and then this Samuel Houston initials there. We sold those for $100,000 to a collector in Texas, and we got to meet them, and they were really some fantastic people. They actually came down to the auction to come and pick them up, which was really nice, because we always like to see it when people are able to handle the things that they're so interested and passionate about, because that's half the fun, because we like this stuff too. So sometimes the consignor doesn't leave until a couple hours afterward, or the buyer doesn't leave until a couple hours afterwards, because we've just been talking history the entire time. This was out of that same collection. The Republic of Mexico full-grade dress uniform. This is believed to have been worn by Santa Anna and was taken at a raid on a place called Tehuacan in 1847 after the Battle of, it was Buena Vista. The Battle of Buena Vista. And at that time, Santa Anna had retreated south with what was left of his army, and the Texas Rangers caught wind that he was staying in this town. And so they sent a raiding party out, and as they approached, they had set up a picket. For those who don't know what a picket is, it's basically a circle of soldiers guarding an area to make sure no one comes in or goes out. And there was a civilian carriage that came by, and they demanded that they stop, but they had a letter of safe passage by the Americans, so they let them go. And when they decided it was time to attack, they attacked, and they found out that Santa Anna was gone because the people had tipped him off. However, even though they did not find Santa Anna, they did find his wardrobe and many, many other personal items, including the personal items of his wife. And Santa Anna sent a message to the Texas Rangers asking for his clothing back, and of course they said no. However, they did send Senora Santa Anna's items back with a note saying, "We're sorry we missed your husband. We would have loved to have met him. Here are your items back." Because they wanted Santa Ana. They didn't want her. And this was actually in the Hayes collection. It was first taken by Captain Ephraim Daggett, I believe, of Company B, and he had it for some time. And it was given to John Coffey Hayes, who was the leader of the Texas Rangers at the time, and was actually worn by Hayes to a ball in his honor on the return to Texas. So there's some great history on that, and the high definition pictures of this particular item are really worth looking at. All the embroidery, the gold embroidery is all hand sewn gold embroidery, all hand sewn wool. The inside is padded, and it's all quilted pattern, hand quilted. And actually, in the initial report of the battle, afterwards, they said they weighed it, and it weighed 15 pounds because of all the gold embroidery, and even the tails of the jacket, which you can't see in this picture, are also gold embroidered. So it was a real monster of a piece.
We did weigh it, for the record, and it was just under 15 pounds.
Yeah.
So
it was almost right. It was almost on the money. We have a historical collectibles, which is kind of a catch-all for things that aren't quite militaria, aren't quite arms and armor, but things that still have a significant historical value. These are two doors from the Alamo complex. We believe that these were taken from the chapel during renovations by the Daughters of the Republic of Texas sometime, I believe, in the 1960s. And these particular doors are about 5.5 feet tall, too small for me to get into, so I would have hit my head on whatever door was in there. And hand-wrought iron chains, blacksmith iron chains, giant nails that went through the door on the inside, square-cut nails, about a foot long. And the neatest part about this was that there was still some paint remaining on here. This really great kind of desert red and turquoise blue oil-based paint that was on here, so you could see where it had been painted previously in the past. And these were probably some of the coolest things we've ever had were these two doors. And they were taken by an individual who was helping out with those renovations. And things in the 1960s were not quite as strict as they are today as far as historic sites and that sort of things. And it was a private site at the time, so he just said, "Well, are you going to get rid of these during the renovations?" And they essentially said yes. And he said, "Well, can I have them?" Sure. So he took the doors from the Alamo, which I wish I could do things like that today. This was a plain saddle. We believe that this was attributed to Comanche Chief Quanah Parker. If any of you have read the book Empire of the Summer Moon, it's all about Quanah Parker. And it would be impossible for me to really fully talk about him with the time that we have, because he was that important. He was known for straddling the line between the white American government and the Comanche people. He was actually the son of a Comanche chief and a captured white woman. And he grew up to be one of the war chiefs in the Comanches, just as kind of the sunset of the West was really happening. And eventually he surrendered to the Americans and lived on the reservation, but he became a very wealthy man. In fact, I believe he was one of the wealthiest American Indians to ever live. Became a rancher, became a farmer, leased his land, and he was good friends with Teddy Roosevelt. He went hunting with Teddy Roosevelt, I believe, and really became quite an important person and a politician and an orator for the Comanches. But Empire of the Summer Moon is an excellent book. I recommend that everybody read that book. One thing we're just kind of starting getting into now is photography and manuscripts. I'm actually an archivist by trade, so this is one of my favorite things. I did that for many years when I got my master's degree in archival administration and museum studies. So this was kind of a return to form for me.
Steve, he's good at transcribing too.
Oh yeah.
Had that in my mind.
Because my handwriting is super sloppy, I can read other people's
I
sloppy
would hand your
handwriting.
application for you.
That's what I was telling him. It's up there on the table.
This was a really neat thing that we got to have, a salt print of Sam Houston. This is while he was a member of the U.S. Senate, which was later on in his career, later on in his life, before the Civil War. And what's really neat about a salt print is something you don't find very often. I believe it was patented in 1841 by an Englishman. It was William Fox Talbot, I think, who patented it. And it's a fairly simple system. You take a piece of paper and you mix together table salt and silver nitrate, which is a chemical that's used in collodion type photography. You mix those together and then you get silver chloride, which is extremely light sensitive. So you would take a negative photograph, like from an ambrotype, which is a negative taken on glass. You contact it to the paper, show it to some sunlight, and you get a print because of that sodium chloride. And you just wash it off with some salt water, and then a couple hours later it becomes this great print with these really nice tones in it. And as we're aware of, this may be the only one known. This may be the only print of this photograph because we're not sure where the negative is. We believe the negative was probably kept by the family. There was some notes in the collection of the original purchaser that said that I believe that the original negative was kept by the family, but this may be the only known print of this particular photograph, which as an archives guy was really, really cool to be able to brag to all of my old friends from grad school. And this is an example of something that we're going to have coming up. This is a daguerreotype, which is kind of between the salt print and the ambrotype, which is silver nitrate, our good friend from the salt print, is put on a piece of iron and then is exposed to light through a camera to form this image. This is a particularly rare image because it's from San Francisco. This image was probably made sometime in the 1840s, which San Francisco being a fairly new city, being a fairly isolated city as far as what people would call civilization in those days, is a pretty rare photo, and it's a whole plate, so it's a pretty sizable photo. And that's going to be up in March 2023, which we're currently working on right now to do that particular sale. American Indian and Western art. This is another big thing. We got a piece of that with us tonight. A lot of beadwork. We have a lot of basketry, things that we really enjoy. I grew up a lot in Oklahoma, in the Great Plains. That's where my mother's side of the family is from, so I kind of grew up in this culture. And those are things that we really enjoy seeing is not only the artistry that we see in metal, but the artistry that we have here with beadwork and with quill work and leather work and those sort of things, which is always really neat to be able to interact with. Just like this hide vest. It's all hand beaded. So, and for any of you who have done beadwork or seen beadwork, those beads are about 1 millimeter by 1 millimeter. And I remember my grandfather doing beadwork growing up. And I don't know how he didn't go blind doing it, but that was a really fantastic piece that we had in our first American Indian auction in 2021. But that's just an idea of some of the things that we handle, how we do business, a little bit about us, things that we enjoy doing. And like everybody here, we love our history, our local history, our state history, our national history, which is really what kind of got us into this particular occupation in the first place. So we welcome any questions you have, any questions about the business or history. Yes, ma'am.
Do you have provenance on all these pieces?
Yes,
what's that? Provenance?
Yes. That's why that we feel it's beneficial to go with someone like us that's very transparent, not a sales pitch, but our due diligence is actually checking out sources, multiple different sources, outside what was given to us on behalf of the consignor. So we will work through old newspaper, just, you know, that's what, like Andrew said, he's an archivist, so we will go to historical societies. We'll jump on the phone and contact people, the Donors of the Texas Revolution, just to verify and make sure everything checks out. So we do our due diligence. Yes.
There was a sword that we had that was presented to Samuel Walker, who would help design the Walker revolver, like the one you see in Outlaw Josie Wales, which is my favorite movie. But it was claimed that this was presented to him by this maker, by this city, and we actually found the news article from New Orleans when they presented him this particular sword by that particular maker. So that was a really neat thing to be able to say, okay, this wasn't just something that the consignor told us. We found information that says that this was actually presented to him. So, It's part of the fun too.
For selling, the commission for selling with us, there's no set commission. We'll work with you on commission rates because it depends on, for example, we'll travel all over the United States. If we go to San Francisco, obviously we're going to try to recover some of the travel costs. But if you're purchasing with us, so the way that auctions work, I think it was sometime in the 70s that Sotheby's, one of the big New York houses, decided to tack on a buyer's premium, right? So typically auction houses would just charge the selling commission. Then when this happened, every auction house followed suit. So in building Lewis and Grant, at previous places we worked, we saw the buyer's premium going up and up and up and up. And so ours is at 15%. So when you buy something, it's additional 15% that's tacked on it. But that actually splits the cost, so we don't charge the seller the full amount. So we might charge the seller 15% and the buyer 15%, but it will vary. And there's things too. We have, if you bid with us directly, it's lower than perhaps bidding with, say, proxy bid or a third-party platform. So we encourage everybody to bid with us because we can save you 5 to 8% on that.
Any other questions for him? All right,
Yeah.
let's get to the star of the show then.
Let's get into the nitty gritty.
Into the meat of it.
Cool stuff.
Yes.
I think we've got people from all over, every table that have brought stuff in. Why don't we start all the way in the back? Is there somebody back there in the back? Bring it on up. Don't worry, we'll get to bounce around here and make sure we get everybody. This is going to be a little bit different than Antique Roadshow because I want to keep everybody engaged. You know, when you go to Antique Roadshow, you talk to the appraiser and they just talk to you and then you move on. Well, we want everybody to know what's coming up here and let everybody take a look at it.
What do you? I didn't bring the rifle when I bought the bayonet. Came to look at that. Yes.
Yeah, it's a Type 99 rifle. And the maker should be right here, which is Tokyo or
So let's tell everybody what we got here.
Recircle. What we have here is a bayonet that was built in Tokyo, Japan, prior to World War II beginning, probably in around 1935, 1936, when they were building up their arms for their big war machine. So what this is a bayonet that fits a Type 99 rifle that would have been issued to the average infantry guy.
I have it right there. This came from Boston. Boy.
I didn't bring a tape measure, but it's good. It's a small one. That's good. This is a kind of a pennant or a small barracks flag that would have hung in their barracks. It was nothing that would have been hanging outside on a flagpole. It just reminded them of who they were fighting for, the Nazis. And this is a small one. Probably he took it right out of the building.
Took it out of his coat.
Yeah, took it out of his coat. It's in his coat pocket.
Went back to his tank. And the German was running away, and he shot him. He took his coat, and that happened to hit him.
Well,
Coat was warm.
today at auction, this would probably do between 300 to 500.
Really?
They're desirable based on the size. Small ones they can display. There's really big flags and banners. They're not so displayable, so people don't see
Yeah,
them.
no, that's very good. Thank you. You're welcome.
And you got a
Colored helmet. I've never seen one with the texture.
standard issue, but the texture.
Yeah, I never seen
What do you know about the textured ones, Andrew?
Textured helmets.
Textured helmets?
Yeah, it's the texture.
heard it was wood chip.
Yep, so this is wood chip sawdust.
Yeah.
What this is this looks like an M35 with the rolled down rim. So this is a more early war helmet. And this is the correct liner. And what this was is to better break up the reflection on a wet helmet. That's one thing that they learned in World War I, was when your helmet got wet, it shone. And so the Americans did this, and in World War I, and the Germans later started doing this. And when they would add the paint, and what this did was it helped break down the reflections of when the light was shining on it. Let's see. Now inside the skirt, there should be, it's a little covered up by the paint, but on a German helmet, if you look back here, there's a size marking and a heat stamp. That will tell you where it was made and the size. This probably looks like a 57 or a 58, which I can't read that. This has been repainted, but it was probably repainted sometime during the war. The paint looks pretty old. So this one, this is probably, what do you think? Probably 2 to 3. Yeah, 2 to 300. 2 to 300 at least. And yeah, with that original liner, that's a nice liner. And a lot of time you'll see the liner tore up on the inside just because of the age. But that's an excellent piece. That's an excellent piece.
Thank you. And then this is the bayonet from my Mauser. I didn't know you guys were doing it right.
Oh yeah. K98 Mauser, 43 ASW. So this was made in 1943, and it's got all the right what they call Waffenamts, which was an inspector's mark, and you can usually look them up. It'll have a WA and then A93 or 86 or something like that, which will then tell you who the inspector was at what factory. So you can actually tell a lot about this bayonet by looking up the inspector stamps, and the serial number 6322U was number 6,322 in the U series, so A, B, C, D, E, F, G, whatever letter U is that many thousand before this one. So that's how they kept their numbers straight. So a K98 Mauser bayonet will usually run between about $100 and $200.
And the number would correspond to the rifle.
Yeah, and they would have matched up the rifle based on serial number. And it's got I don't see a maker's mark on the leather.
Yeah.
And sometimes they'll have this, but that's a nice bayonet. And the Waffenamt on there, it looks like 613. So I may be able to find out what 613 is.
I got a couple more things I said. Here's the old ration stamps.
Oh, yeah.
They don't work today. I try to cash them in. These are within my uncle's stuff.
10th Armored
Yes.
and the 101st Airborne.
This was his combat knife that he had with him. I played with it. I got two more things. And then this was the pistol. This is the one I'm not sure about. I was with a guy at a gun show. He bought that and he gave it to me.
Well, it's SS Mark.
And I loosened the nut up. I didn't like
And he believes it was parts?
He wasn't sure. I think it's real. He said he wasn't sure.
Well, this is an SS marking. The blade etching is real, and that is the maker, and that is the proper marks that you want to see. And the scabbard should be black, which it is. If I would need to compare this to others, and then once I did that, SS daggers normally will bring between $1,500 and $2,500 if they're real.
And then this came from Germany during the occupation. My neighbor gave it to me.
Oh, a gasser, yeah. This was actually used way before that. It was used from 1880 and up, and it was used by what was called Imperial Germany, which covered almost all of Europe.
I can tell you, I never shot it.
Well, they fire like an 8mm. Well, this one, yeah, 11mm. This one today at auction would probably do between $600 and $900.
Really? That's really all I have. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you for bringing it.
I really enjoyed that.
Yeah.
You can put this right back in there, Harry.
Now I know how much it's worth.
I wasn't there to careful home.
Sure.
Thank you so much.
Awesome, thank you.
Thank you for bringing it.
Okay, let's pick somebody, how about in the middle here?
Yeah.
Mosin the gun? Is that how you pronounce it?
Mosin the gun, that's up, where did Andrew go? That's
Right here.
there's your baby.
How much did they manufacture these?
Millions.
Millions, yeah.
Millions. Millions on millions on millions.
And the finished ones are the ones on
Yeah, the M39s, the M27s. An interesting thing about the Mosin Nagant, oh, it's got a hex receiver.
Yeah.
All right. Oh, this is a nice one. All right, so this is a Mosin Nagant. What people most know is a Mosin Nagant M9130. This is the model that was used in World War II as opposed to the model M91. The M9130 is distinguished by its front sight, which has a globe on it instead of just what we call a barley corn. It's also got a different receiver and a different rear sight. The rear sights of the 9130s are marked in meters, while the rear sights of the Model 91s are what's marked in what's called arshin, or arshini, which is plural, which was a measurement that was only used by Imperial Russia. So you can usually date a 9130 based on its rear sight. And what's particularly interesting about this one is that this is what's called a hex receiver. Now, these were really known as early pieces. These were made either pre-war or early in the war. Because as the war progressed and they needed to make more of these rifles, they didn't bother machining the hexagonal section. They flattened them. So they're split into two groups, round receivers and hex receivers. So this is a hex receiver. The style of the stock with these screwed in flat sling swivels puts it about an early war piece, which matches up with this receiver. Which is dated 1927. So this is a nice pre-war piece. So this was pre-World War II. And that being said, there's a better than good chance that this saw action in World War II. As they made millions and millions and millions of these, this may have also potentially have seen action on the Finnish front during the Winter War and the later Continuation War. And this has a bow and arrow stamp here. And it should also have, if I can find it, it may not. The stock has been refinished on this, which is not uncommon at all. And let's see if I've got a marking here. This has got a star marking, and this has been refinished as well. But you know, I always like to say, try to find one that isn't. And it also bears mentioning that these parts are matching. So the bolt matches, the receiver matches, and what's really neat is that the magazine floor plate matches, which is particularly rare because you can just take it off. So it's pretty interesting to find all these pieces put together well. But this is the armorer's mark. There were two major armories, Izhevsk and Tula, Russian armories. This particular bow and the arrow means that it was an Izhevsk arsenal, and this later changed to just an arrow, I believe in 1938 or 1939. So this is a really nice early Russian piece. It's got the Soviet hammer and sickle on it. And it is imported by PWRs of Richmond, Virginia. This was done fairly recently, where the federal government started requiring importers to engrave their information on them. Some people think it drops the value. I don't think it does personally. But at an auction, I would be comfortable estimating this piece anywhere between $400 and $600. So, and this is really nice. It's got a great bore on it too. So this is the first gun I ever bought was a 9130. So,
And it's very accurate.
and very accurate.
I fired it
That's right.
maybe a year and a half ago.
This is a very nice rifle. Very, very nice. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
How about this table here? Yeah. Everybody's gonna get a dime.
I remember when you used to be able to buy most of the guns for $75. I picked mine out for $100 out of a box, and I got 1,000 rounds of ammunition for $100. Oh, okay. 42 Flowbird.
Springfield musket.
Well, I'll take a look at that.
Which one's a 42?
This one looks like a 42.
42? That's 42.
Yep, 1842. PV Eagle, 1853. Stock's been sanded a little bit.
All right. They converted it. Yeah. They didn't convert it. What they did is they cut the barrels down and they would ream the rifling out and make them a smooth bore so that the farmers had a shotgun to shoot the forage with.
Oh, the was ever rifle. All right. Well, there's a couple
So
of
this was first rifled and then it was blown out?
Yeah, it was actually a 42 musket. Springfield or Harper's Ferry?
Springfield.
Is that 1842?
Yes.
So what this
model
is
1842.
is this was originally an 1842 musket made at the Springfield Arsenal, and this was the first mass-issued percussion arm used by the U.S. Army. The 1841, not the 1841 rifle. Other than a rifle, but this was the first percussion musket that was used by the U.S. Army. Was built on the 1795. And some people consider it still to be a more mature 1795 model. These were used extensively throughout the Mexican War, as well as the Civil War. Most of your early war units of the Civil War, state militias, were issued these muskets, 69 caliber smoothbore. Because there were a lot of them were surplus arms. We hadn't quite switched over to the 1861, which is a rifle. So a lot of these were still in the were in the armories and the state arsenals. And after the war, a lot of these were sold as surplus. Many of them through a company called Bannerman's in New York. Bannerman's was famous for selling a lot of surplus arms, buying the parts and assembling them. And then this particular piece this used to be what was called a 3-band musket. So you have a full-length stock with 3 metal bands that secured it onto that secure the 2 pieces together. This one's been cut down. It's had a bead sight added and turned into a shotgun, which is not uncommon. You find these all the time. And all these parts are still original to this particular piece. They haven't been added or anything like that. You can see the VP and Eagle here. And that VP and Eagle, the V stands for viewing proof, which the inspector looked at it and he said, all the parts look right, all the parts are made correctly, it functions properly, so I accept it. The P is a firing proof, meaning we loaded this gun with more than what it's supposed to fire, fired it, and the gun didn't blow up, so it's a good barrel. And that Eagle proof is a military acceptance stamp. We've got the view proof, we've got the firing proof, so we're going to put the final stamp on it, so Uncle Sam says it's okay. And back on here, right on what's called the barrel tang, you can just make out what I think is 1855, which would have been the year that it was built. It can be a model 1842 with an 1855 mark, and that just means it was made in 1855, and that matches up with the date on the back of the lock. So this piece, because it's not in its original configuration, I would probably put between $100 and $200. It's still got a pretty, I think this is the original stock. It doesn't look like the stock's been apart. So I'd put this between $100 and $300 at auction.
Grandfather had his chicken coop.
Yeah, makes sense. Makes sense. It's shooting coyotes and foxes. Yeah. That'll do it. This is a pretty neat thing. This is what we call a flowbird. Flowbird is kind of like saying Kleenexes. There were a lot of different companies manufacturing these, but the most famous was Flowbird. So Flowbird becomes kind of a catch-all term. This is also what's known as a Flowbird parlor gun, and this was for when people had shooting parlors, when you would fire your guns indoors. And it's a 22 caliber, and this would have had a very, very small cartridge. And so you could have shot it in your house, at your parties and at your social events. You would set up little targets and you shoot inside your house. And a lot of these were manufactured in Belgium. And I don't, okay. So right here, under the barrel, you'll see an ELG and a star. That's a Belgian, from a city called Liège in Belgium, and that's their proof mark. So these have got Belgian proof marks, and you can kind of see a little crown right there, crown marking. That's also another proof mark. And it was the same thing with the Americans, saying, okay, we're going to make sure that all the guns that we sell in Belgium are proofed. So we're going to take it to the proofing house in Liège. Okay, it passes. We're going to stamp it. We can fire a certain kind of gunpowder out of this. Okay, we're going to stamp it. And so it would also became kind of like a trademark. Got a nice checkered stock, good Germanic style trigger guard, and these pieces usually bring about $50 to $150 because they were so ubiquitous. A gallery gun, you used them at state fairs and that sort of thing. But that's a Flaubert Belgian. Big crack in the stock, but for its age, it's kind of to be expected. And these were used all the time. So these weren't something that you bought to only use on your once yearly hunting trip. These were things that people bought to use them. Okay. So finding some wear on these is not unexpected. And if I can get that action closed back up. There we go. Thank you. Absolutely, thanks. That's great.
Very good. All right, Jan has asked for a commercial interruption here to do her...
Well, everybody's still here. One out for me. Tonight we have a copy of Northern Kentucky Heritage Magazine. In this one, there is a really good article about Pompilio's restaurant, its whole history, by one of our former members, Mike Sweeney, who has passed away. So this is a good one. The winner is 935337.
Bingo.
All right.
Make sure that's the right one. My wife will appreciate that.
Yes. Congratulations.
How about back in the corner here? Bring your stuff up. Come on down.
Mark 2 banners. Yeah, British Enfield.
That was found in a cave over in Switzerland.
Okay. Found in a cave over in Switzerland. Okay.
It was covered in wax when I got it, and I had it since like 1986 or 87.
Okay.
It was like brand new. It's been shot a few times.
Yeah.
But then
No import markings. All right, so what this is a British Lee Enfield rifle, and this is what's known as number 4 Mark I. And the number 4 Mark I, meaning it was rifle number 4, Series 1. So every time they would have a modification, whether it's we changed the bolt handle, we added a new front sight or something like that, they would change it to Mark I, Mark II, Mark III. And this was an evolution from the short magazine Lee Enfield number 1 Mark III, which is what you see in the World War I movies with the flat nose cap, the British rifle. This is what these are descendants of. Fires the same cartridge, 30 caliber, .303 inches. And these were used extensively throughout World War II. Now what's really neat about this one is this is a Savage contract, which these were actually made by the Savage Rifle Company in the United States for export to Britain. And as you can, it's actually got on the top rail, this is U.S. property. These were Lend-Lease programs, so these actually stayed technically United States property, and they were sent over to Britain to make sure that they had enough rifles at the start of World War II. This has a 1942 production date, so it's made in 1942, so it probably saw action. Has our S mark here, and the serial number can actually, there's a numerical, an alphanumeric code on these that you can then check to see what month it was made and what factory. Now, what's actually pretty cool about this one too is a lot of, because you said this was found in a cave in Switzerland. What's interesting about this is that most of these, the number 4 Mark 1s, will have what's called a factory through repair marking, which is they would strip them, refinish them, and they would put FTR 0942 or 52, which would be like September 1952 of when they refinished it. But this one doesn't have this. So this is all, like you said, it's all in its original configuration. It still has the Savage markings, has a Mark II rear sight, or a Mark I, this is a Mark I rear sight. And it comes with the early bayonet, the pig sticker. Because some of these are spike bayonets, some of them have a more traditional blade, but these are, they found that these are actually more effective. And we'll usually, for these, put them anywhere between $300 to $500 or $400 to $600. And this is a great piece for that one, especially with the history that goes behind it. I'd be happier with probably more of a $400 to $600, $500 to $700 estimate on that.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
It's not military, but it's vintage.
Okay.
So I
One more.
don't know what I'm doing, so
It's okay. Got it this far.
my husband couldn't come, and so he said they'll know how to put it together.
Hopefully, let's see.
He had another commitment that.
Should go right in. No, it don't want to go.
Oh, and it.
You don't want to force it.
Okay, it does. He put it in there for me.
Yeah, it should. Normally what happens is...
Just kind of snapped into place.
Yep, but I don't want to push it because...
That's okay if you're...
You can break that spring and you don't want to do that.
Yeah, he popped it in and then popped it out.
Hunter Arms actually later became L.C. Smith. L.C. Smith, or I've got it backwards. Hunter Arms bought L.C. Smith. L.C. Smith made kind of the Cadillac of double-barrel hammer shotguns and then into hammer shotguns. And the person that actually made L.C. Smith really famous was Annie Oakley. She shot, and they made her a special one with her bust engraved in the side of the lock plates. But Hunter Arms made shotguns around the turn of the century. This one probably made between 1890 and 1905.
Okay.
And basically they were made for people to hunt with and put food on the table. So it's a nice shotgun. Thank you for bringing it.
Does it have
What's your
any
appraisal?
value?
Value-wise on it today just depends on who is looking for one, but I would probably estimate it at auction $300 to $500.
Okay.
Go from there.
What about prints? We have a vintage print by a Henry Rankin Cord. My brother researched that maybe he was an artist and did work for Remington.
I would have to research that on the computer and figure it out, and then I could tell you. But if you bring it by the shop someday, we'll be glad to look it up and help you out.
By picture? Could you do?
We can do it by
'cause I have
picture
a
and
picture
VA.
with me.
Go ahead.
It was very difficult trying to find somebody. That was the print.
Oh, dogs.
Yeah.
Nice.
It's a beautiful print, and
There's
there's.
a bird dogs.
And then on the back, it had a little bit of history of.
It's the original frame that it is.
Yeah, it was restored, and it came out of a home in Newport. And I think it was restored in '49. I clicked a picture of the back, but not really sure.
Well, the most famous painter of dogs was please? Edmund Osthouse.
Okay.
So he could have been associated with Osthouse.
Okay.
And the quality of the dogs kind of look like what Osthouse would do.
Okay. And then one other question about, let's see, I have my little when you were talking about other things in auction, a walking cane, but it converts to a violin.
I've not seen one. I've seen them convert to firearms. I've seen them
Yeah.
as swords or daggers.
Is that stuff that you?
I've seen them as pipes.
Okay.
Oh gosh, I've seen them with dice in the end of the head where they would shake the cane and see where they land.
Yeah. Is that something you all would be interested in?
Absolutely.
Okay. Yeah, because that's something that we've had and we just don't know who to go to. So, okay, well then.
Thank you for bringing the shotgun.
Oh, well, thank you. This has been the military stuff. My brother-in-law is a big collector, and I wish I would have had him come.
Well, we're just in Newport, so we're done.
I know, yeah. Didn't realize that. I'll have him reach out to you.
Perfect. Thanks for stopping by.
Patty, you want to bring your stuff up?
Oh my goodness. Well,
It's something other than rifles.
We got in
guns.
I just had this framed.
Andrew.
It was part of my father's estate, or I got it. This letter was found inside of it, if you want to read it out loud. If you can read it, and this is a chop, man's chop, and that's a Japanese wallet. And then on the back, we left that open so you could see that.
Silk on the back.
Yes.
Kind of the
No, that's from April 24th, 1945 in the war, from the Philippines. I'm going to ask you folks, does anybody here know the name? Raise your hand if you know who Joe E. Brown is. I do now. Quiet. You do? Joe E. Brown. He was an actor in the 30s and 40s. He had the big mouth. He starred in Some Like It Hot and some of the movies. So my father was in the Philippines in World War II in the Army. And apparently Joey Brown was not in the Army, but apparently he was Bob Hope before Bob Hope was entertainer. And I have a Filipino money here with Joey Brown on the back. His signature. I asked somebody one time, I said, well, what would it be worth? And they said, nothing, because he didn't sign it on the front. There you go. Also, for you guys, I got a question. Have you ever heard of the collector David Pepin, P-E-P-I-N? He has samurai swords. Anyway.
I may have met him at a sword convention.
Yeah, he had a display in the 70s, 78, 77 at the Naval Museum of all samurai swords, and my father sold him a Japanese flag and 2 swords. So anyway, and I have Japanese money and American money, military money. What's that?
military payments.
Yeah. Yeah. Can you read that?
543 Tachibana.
You can read Japanese?
I read a little bit.
Oh, good.
I can read Japanese sword in numbers. This is, to whom it may concern, early this morning,
in that case is a chop, and in Japan, a chop is a man's or a woman's signature. They didn't sign their name with an ink pen. It was a stamp, and they put it in ink, and then they stamped, and that was your signature. Also is a Japanese wallet, and a letter from 1945, April 24th, where the Philippine people, they have a special name on there for it. It says, Philippines against Japs, captured a Japanese soldier. And he's going to be turned over to the U.S. Army.
Yeah, April 24th, 1945. So.
Yeah.
To whom it may concern, early this morning, I don't know that word, the People's Anti-Japanese Army, basically. Soldiers have captured a Japanese soldier in one of the cottages near San Antonio, a barrio of, looks like Barredos, which Philippine Spanish names makes a lot of sense. At present, the said captured is given in the hands of the barrio civilians. This we now report to the U.S. Army so that it will be taken in time. So I imagine he probably was not enjoying himself at the hands of the Philippines.
No.
No. But that is really something else. And it's got the stamp. That's really neat.
Well, when I had him frame it, I said, if you can stamp that on there to see what it says. And I have another one that is kind of rusty, and the ink well is on the inside of it. It's like a pen.
1045. I just wonder what that could be.
I don't know, but if you figure it out, let me know.
Yeah, I'm gonna take a picture of that and see if I can translate that later.
See, I had something interesting.
Yeah, that's really interesting.
So Joey Brown doesn't mean a lot to a lot of people.
Samurai that your father sold are probably going to be very interesting.
Oh, yeah. He took him up to that guy, and I looked him up on the internet, and he just died in the 70s. And apparently he let the Naval Museum show all his samurai swords. Whatever happened to him, I don't know. Maybe they're still in a museum. So I have one, Joey Brown. So there you go.
Yeah, because this is like K 10643. What is this one?
I don't know.
It's like Masa. Oh, yeah, I'm gonna have to take a picture of it.
Okay, you go ahead. I'm glad he's enjoying that.
That's great.
Okay.
Such a cool piece.
It is.
And then, yeah, it's silk back too.
It is. And I had him keep that open so it would.
That's a great idea.
Yeah. That's a good art store. Suitors. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I'm gonna figure it out.
Richard Brindley's up here, and then we're going to get to you.
1840, model 1840.
NCO sword.
Yeah. 1863 C. Roby manufacturer.
Yeah.
Make sure it's real because I bought it online, honestly.
It is. It's real. It's an 1840 NCO non-commissioned officer's sword. Missing its scabbard, which would be leather, brass throat, brass tip.
Right.
Roby was in Chelmsford, Massachusetts, I believe. Yeah. And dated 1863, but and your inspector's initials are right here, which means it was issued.
Okay, good.
So on today's market, these are between, again, about $300 to $400.
Oh, good news.
With the scabbard, it would probably be $400 or $500.
Okay, but this is good. Thank you.
Yep.
All right, you two guys fight it out. Who's going next?
I don't have any.
Oh, I thought you brought something. Oh, okay.
This is a pattern, 1814 Harper's Ferry rifle. These can be dated anywhere from 1814 through 1818. Notched rear sight. Your proof marks here, U.S. and the Eagle, and then dated 1818 Harper's Ferry. These are 54 caliber and they're rifle. You have remnants of your cartouche right here. Yep. And behind the trigger guard area, its initials. And at auction today, this probably would do between $1,000 and $1,500. Okay. Thank you for bringing it.
Thank you.
Nice guy.